Allow me to take this opportunity to welcome the Gerald President of this university, His Excellency. Emma, thank you for being part of this session, the third sitting of the Western Region Youth Parliament. Right now, we are starting, and my brother, I kindly ask that you lead us in a national anthem.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand. United free, for liberty, together we always stand.
Council, will you please lead us in the East African anthem?
Mungu kaumba ulinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you so much. You can honorably sit. And we shall have a prayer. I don't know whether someone leading us will tell us to stand up again. And I kindly ask that my sister leads us in a prayer.
May we stand up? Shall we humble ourselves for a word of prayer? Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we want to thank you, we want to bless your name because you're worthy. There's no one else like you, loving Father. We give you honor, we give you grace because you all deserve unto you, loving Father. Father, as we gather here, may you come and be in our midst, come and embrace us. That whatever is going to be spoken here, loving Father, shall be of good importance in our lives, loving Father. We shall never remain the same. We pray that you give us good ideas, that you give us good information, that loving Father shall cut across the country and shall be of good benefit to us. In the mighty name of Jesus, I do pray and believe.
Thank you so much. And from there, we shall go to our official opening. And under this, we shall welcome the opening remarks on behalf of the conveners of this youth parliament. You're welcome. And as you come here, look straight in the camera, just behind.
Thank you, Christopher. For those of you who don't know me, I'm called Howard Mwezi. I work with African Youth Federation, which happens to convene today's Regional Youth Parliament. Today's Youth Parliament is the third session of the Western Region Youth Parliament. We had the first Regional Youth Parliament in 2020, the second one was last year. So today's session is the third one. So what is African Youth Federation? African Youth Federation is a Pan-African youth-led agency that seeks to reposition and redefine and enhance young people's role in terms of decision-making processes in their respective communities. Therefore, for that matter, it's one of the reasons as to why we are here. The Regional Youth Parliament is one of the spaces that we have created to offer opportunities to the young people from the grassroots, to offer them space to deliberate issues that affect them. One way of doing this, at the end of the day, shall be done through petitions, and petitions will be coming from you, the young people that are participating in today's Regional Youth Parliament. And at the end of the day, we shall have a few representatives from the Regional Youth Parliament that will represent you at the National Youth Parliament. The few representatives that will come from here will take your issues to the National Youth Parliament. And then at the end of the National Youth Parliament, your issues will be fed into the National Parliament. So without wasting much time, I would wish to thank Faraja Africa Foundation and partners, GIZ, European Union, for having entrusted us with this obligation to host the 3rd Regional Youth Parliament. We can't thank you enough, and we wish more and more would often be given to us to create more opportunities for the young people at the grassroots. Allow me to invite a representative from Faraja Africa Foundation to say something. Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Morning. My name is Edna Kanyesje. I'm a Programs and Advocacy Officer at Faraja Africa Foundation. This is the third time we've had a youth parliament for Western Uganda, but absolutely a second time being here for the physical youth parliament. And this is not the second time. This is the third time we've been here for the physical, and the 4th time. Nevertheless, I'm always delighted to be in Mbarara, the land of milk and honey. Is that true? Yeah. Yes. So I came along with a team, and we are here to conduct this parliament. Just be here and watch you and listen to you, because this is your platform, this is your program. This year's youth parliament is under a project called, I don't know if all of you can see that banner, Creative Youth Inclusive Policy Engagement and Legislation. It's co-supported by the European Union and the German government. And we have partnered we always partner with African Youth Federation, because they are a young people's organization that shares the same vision, or that shares the same values as Faraja. So we're always delighted to work with them. And we know that when you work with them, we don't go astray. So I'm just going to give you a brief history of the Youth Parliament. Does everybody here know what Faraja is? Do I need to tell you what Faraja is? I'm saying new faces, people I've never met, but maybe you might be knowing what Faraja is. Okay? And then I will also share with you our partners who we are working with this year. So Faraja Africa Foundation is a youth-led and a youth-focused organization that was founded in 2016. And since 2016, we have been creating platforms and programs and safe spaces for young people to express themselves, especially politically, but then also to equip young people with entrepreneurship skills in another program that normally takes place in Mbarara University. We also have a heritage program, but that's not for today. If you'd like to know more about those particular programs, you can check out our website, but then also very actively on social media. This particular project, the Subnational Youth Parliament, is under a program called Parliament Connect. Parliament Connect is a program that has National Youth Parliament as one of its projects. The National Youth Parliament is a program, it's not a structure. There were a few gentlemen as we were explaining to outside here with Abajo. We were telling them, no. It's not like the National Youth Council. It's not like the Uganda National Students Association. It's a program that the civil society organizations like Faraja, CYIPEL, all these logos, Action Aid, Platform for Inclusion in Politics, came up with a program and said, you know what, why don't we show these young people what happens in Parliament? Because when I walked in here, Abaho was telling you that there are MPs who have never spoken a word in Parliament. Sometimes maybe they don't even know how to speak the word, or they don't even know the procedures, even if they go through an induction, a mandatory induction. But we said, let's give young people a picture of what happens in Parliament. And so the Youth Parliament was birthed. And coincidentally, Abaho will be telling you, Abaho is, I keep referring to him because one of our partners is from Center for Policy Analysis. The mothers, are you the mothers of Parliament Watch? He will tell you about Parliament Watch. It's a very interesting program that you should be part of. So he will tell you that while we started this program, we just wanted a demo of what happens in Parliament for young people to see and be part of, and be like, oh, so this is how MPs speak, this is how they debate, this is how they don't actually just quarrel. We just, on social media, we see that they throw each other chairs. We want to know why. So we want to know how they elect their speaker, how the speaker presides over a session, yeah? So this side is a demo, but because of some of our petitions, when we come up with what you guys are going to debate today are called resolutions. When you come up with resolutions and you pass them, we make up a petition and we petition the Parliament of Uganda. And this petition is shared with the speaker, the clerk, and some committees. So what I wanted to bring to you is some of the issues that were debated in the previous years were actually spoken of on the floor of Parliament. And so we felt like, okay, so Parliament actually recognizes the efforts of civil society to include young people in policy advocacy. And so very, very recently, we officially partnered with Parliament of Uganda, and now it's a fully fledged program under Parliament of Uganda, the CPA department. CPA is Communications and Public Affairs, yes. So the Communications and Public Affairs Office recognizes the Youth Parliament as a program of their own. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is not a structure. When you become a speaker of Western Uganda Youth Parliament, it doesn't give you the mandate to tell the NYC chair or the National Youth Council chair or the District Youth Council chair that why isn't the National Youth Parliament represented at the District Youth Council? No, but as a speaker of the Western Uganda Youth Parliament, you can petition on behalf of the young people to the NYC chair, because that's a recognized structure. So you can even choose to work with them, not against them. So you don't have any mandate or authority to start ordering around RDCs, start organizing meetings as the Western Uganda speaker. You know, it's we'll have issues if you do that. Aside from that, this year we're working with Center for Policy Analysis, Rose Namayanja Foundation, Westminster Foundation for Democracy, the Uganda National Students Association, the National Youth Council, Global Platforms Uganda, African Youth Federation, to mention but a few. But in presence we have CYIPEL, Faraja, and African Youth Federation. And the Parliament of Uganda will also be joining us online. I'm just going to consult. It's joining us online. I heard you say that they're on the program, so when they are online, we shall let them speak to us. Yes, otherwise, thank you very much, and I wish you fruitful deliberations.
Thank you for causing this happen as Faraja Foundation. So as we wait for the chief guest, let's have the training by the Parliament of Uganda as the next item on the program. So as we wait for the training by the Parliament, which will certainly come later, then allow me to invite my brother, because we are going to the induction and the election of the Speaker. And I already expressed my concern. I have an interest somewhere, and therefore I'm not fit to preside over the function. So I will invite the brother to take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Brighton Abaho. I work with the Center for Policy Analysis. Center for Policy Analysis is a policy think tank that works with different stakeholders, public government agencies, and various civil society organizations. And at Center for Policy Analysis, we work towards ensuring that we are able to influence policies that affect citizens. And that is why we have a direct collaboration with the Parliament of Uganda. We work with the Parliament of Uganda through our program called Parliament Watch. I do not know whether we have come across maybe on social media website of Parliament Watch. So Parliament Watch, we ensure to make sure that, because Parliament Watch is a parliamentary monitoring organization where we are able to provide information of what happens in Parliament. We are able to provide analyses of what happens in Parliament. We are able to provide analysis of the performance of members of Parliament, able to provide analysis of the different bills that are presented before the House. So we do a lot of work around Parliament. But today I'm basically here to just talk about the National Youth Parliament. And then later on we shall get to have our speaker and then convene and then discuss and then deliberate on the different motions that are on the order paper that has been availed. So, one, the National Youth Parliament. What is the National Youth Parliament, first of all? I'm just going to, in just 1 minute. The National Youth Parliament is an advocacy platform for young people. It was started in 2018 to provide a space where young people can come together and then share ideas, deliberate on the different issues affecting the young people. We started, it originally started as just one National Youth Parliament, but we realized that we needed to decentralize the whole thing such that people in the different regions can be able to come together, so that we can be able to get issues of the young people from the different regions in the country. That's why we do Central, Ankole, Rwenzori, then we shall go to West Nile, we shall do Northern, we shall do Eastern, and then we shall do Busoga. Because we believe that young people in the different regions are affected by the different issues. So when we decentralize the whole idea of the National Youth Parliament, we shall be able to get as many issues that affect the young people from the region where they are based. So the idea is that when we have the National Youth Parliament, the young people are able to be involved in the policy-making processes, because many times young people are not involved in the policy-making processes. But when we try to bring Parliament next to the people, then we shall be able to understand how a policy is made in Parliament. And then through that way, we are able to work together and then have our issues. So what happens to the resolutions that we get from the House, from the different regional youth parliaments? These resolutions are put together in what we call a petition. A petition is one of the ways of how you can take your view to Parliament. These petitions, our petition is always made to the office of the Speaker, and sometimes this petition can be presented on the floor of Parliament. And this petition is also discussed by the Uganda Parliamentary Forum on Youth Affairs. The Uganda Parliamentary Forum on Youth Affairs brings together all youth members of Parliament. We only do not have only the youth members of Parliament, who are 5, but we have also members of Parliament who subscribe to it because they believe in the work done by the young people. I'll give you an example. We have Honorable Cyrus Ogon, the MP for Kumi municipality. He subscribed, he does not represent the youth in Parliament, but he believes in young people. He believes that he can make a contribution. He believes that we can actually do something to improve the livelihoods of young people. So when you hear someone talking about the Uganda Parliamentary Youth Affairs, we are not only talking about, which does not only bring together all the youth representatives, but also members of Parliament who subscribe to the ideas or the issues around young people. So these issues are discussed and then brought in the House for debate, for action. And I'll tell you for a fact, the National Youth Parliament has brought successes that we have seen. Those of us, because I started as a participant in the National Youth Parliament. So we have seen successes. I'm going to give an example. Is last year when we were talking about how can government be able to allow teenage mothers back at school before schools were reopened. It is one of, if you attended the National Youth Parliament or any of those sessions, the aspect of teenage pregnancies was very, very pertinent. And because of that, we were able to take this further, and we saw later on the Vice President, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo, come to the House, and then they had to start a campaign where young people, the teenage mothers, were supposed to go back to school. And then the Ministry of Education had to revise its guidelines that would allow teenage mothers to go back to school, even when they had given birth, even when some of them were still breastfeeding their kids. And that is a success, because, take for example, what would have happened if these young people were not allowed to go back to school, simply because they had. So we have registered a few things, and some of them are still in the making. And through the National Youth Parliament, we've been able to get issues that we are incorporating in the youth legislative agenda that should anytime be launched by our youth representatives. For you who are from NYC, I think you have heard about the youth legislative agenda, something of that sort. Or from UNSA probably have heard about it, but it is the National Youth Parliament is one of the ways how we can be able to generate information that we are using to actually have the youth legislative agenda that is being championed by our members of Parliament. So the National Youth Parliament, we do not just come here to sit, we come to deliberate on issues that affect young people so that we can be able to get solutions from our leaders. And I remember those of you attended the last National Youth Parliament, the late Honorable Jacob Olanya was very clear on this, that there is no issue of the young people that is going to come to the House and will not be given attention. And he gave us that assurance. And it's the same stand that the current Speaker, the Right Honorable Anita Among, has to ensure that issues of the young people are actually taken care of, are handled in all ways. So we are not here just to waste time. I will tell you for a fact that our issues from here will see they will see the light of the day. Thank you. So from that, we are going to go straight and have because of time, we are going to have our speaker, to elect our speaker who is going to preside over, and then we discuss, we deliberate on our motions that we have on the order paper, and then thereafter we shall have our resolutions, and then after our resolutions, after we have elected a speaker, he or she will be sworn in or will take an oath, and then we'll preside over, and then we deliberate on those issues. So how are we going to do this? We are going to have We are going to have members nominate whom they want to, whom they believe can be able to steer or preside over this house. Then such a person is going to be seconded, and then we are going to give an opportunity to whoever has been nominated to come and speak to us. However, in normal parliament, at parliament, what happens is that when an honorable member is nominated, we get another honorable member to speak about a honorable member. But here we would like to have the opportunity of that person who has been nominated to speak to us themselves, such that we can be able to understand why they would like to steer us, why they would like to preside over the house, why they would like to lead us, because probably they understand themselves better than how we understand them. So after that, we are going to have a separate ballot, such that we do not have issues of elections in this country. Every other time we have elections in this country, no one has ever considered that they were free and fair. But we want to make sure that they are free and fair. That's why we are going to make sure that we have a secret ballot. So we are going to ask. Of course, we are not convening. What happens at Parliament? Because right now we do not have a Chief Justice to preside over the election of the Speaker. But we are going to just have it in a way, you nominate the person, then that person is seconded, and then the person will come and speak to us, and then we elect. When we have elected the Speaker is going to take charge of the House. None of us will be allowed to speak when they have not been given permission. And I believe we understand these things. Probably we have been in guild councils, we have been at the local government. So that's how we are going to have it run today. So I am kind of opening the floor for us to nominate the people whom you would like to steer the House. And it starts now.
Thank you very much. My name is Ahiro Tisha, and I nominate Agawa Charity for speakership. Thank you.
Have anyone seconding the nomination of Agawa Charity?
Thank you so much. I'm Happy Asuman, and I second Agawa Charity.
Thank you very much. Any other nomination?
Thank you very much. I'm Stefan Liamuhachi, and I second Agawa Charity for speakership.
Thank you. Any other nomination? So if there is no any other nomination, a member should be able to raise up their hand, and they move a motion that nominations be closed, and then we proceed. Any other nomination? It is until when you close nominations that I will be able to close nominations. Personally, I can't. And when we ask the House to vote on whether we should close nominations or not. Any other nomination? Oh.
Thank you. I arise to close the nomination of the Speaker.
Thank you. Or we have any other nomination?
I second the closer.
Thank you very much. Those in favor say yes, those not in favor say no. Those in favor say yes. Yes. Nomination is closed. Does that mean that we have a speaker who is unopposed? I would like to take this opportunity to invite Agawa Charity to come and speak to us. Since she's the only one who has been nominated to steer the House, I would like to invite her to come and speak to us. I do not know, I hope we have not closed out anyone who thought they should have been nominated and they have not been given a chance to be nominated. Since we do not have any complaints, since no one has lodged a complaint before the Electoral Commission, who is me, we are going to proceed and give the opportunity to Charity to speak to us, and thereafter we are going to convene and then have our session. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I am Agava Charity Matiko. I'm a born of Mitoma, Hinda North, Kanyawanga Sub-County. My home is just at the borders of Imanagambo Forest. So if you see me, just a lioness. So I'm here as the Deputy Speaker, Uganda National Students Association, and the, should I say elect? Oh, the chosen Speaker of this Parliament. Thank you for entrusting me with your mandate, and I pledge to do whatever it takes to move us to the end successfully. Previously, I convened a Parliament in Mbarara City about SRHR, especially on the side of women or young girls, and it was funded by Ham Production. I've seen actions being taken and done in Mbarara City to help the young girls go back to school, help them have access to materials they use, and help them have access to ventures or spaces where they speak and talk about issues that concern them. In this Parliament, where women and men are seated, we're going to have transparency as a key factor. In a sense that there's no bias on the side of women or on the side of the tall or the short or the side of region. We're going to have transparency in a way that we're going to speak whatever has been like itching us. Based on my previous experience of the sessions that have presided over, I have a record not told by me but by other people that I'm that person who doesn't base on the face of someone to act or to speak to them or to allow them to say something. And it is what I'm going to do today. Thank you for mandating me, for giving me your time, for giving me your trust, for giving me your vote. I pledge to work with us. Like one speaker said, that in the world of success, there is always one person. That person is not I, neither is he, you. It is the we. When we are deliberating today, don't look at an issue and attach it to someone. Don't attach someone's submission to him. It's going to be our submission. Whatever resolution we are going to make is going to be our resolution. Whatever we are going to decline is going to be declined by the whole House. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now that we have elected our speaker, we are going to, but before we get to convene officially, we need to pick a cup of tea. Come here, because I know we are hungry probably. The right food is very, very, very important. We're going to go pick a cup of tea and then come with a cup of tea such that we can have this chap. Is that right? And then thereafter we are going to have our speaker dressed in, And then, however, I would like to have a volunteer to volunteer as a clerk, and another volunteer as a sergeant at arms. And then we shall be good to go. Thank you. I would like to have someone to volunteer to become the sergeant at arms, because someone has already volunteered to be our clerk, and they'll be able to guide the speaker and also to give us give us the resolution. Honorable Munzira is going to be our clerk, He has already volunteered, and we are waiting for any other person to do so, to volunteer as Sergeant at Arms. Thank you. Before we are going to let the speaker take an oath, and then shall proceed and then have our house.
I, Agawa Charity, swear in the name of the mighty God that I will at all times well and truly serve the Republic of Uganda in the office of Speaker of the Youth Parliament, and that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as by law established. So help me God. Honorable members, you're welcome to this session of the Third Parliament of the Western Region. You can take your seats. Still, I'm Agawa Charity, presiding over this session. We are going to use 3 minutes to move the motion and justify it. After moving the motion, we shall have one to second the motion. Then the motion mover will come forward and justify it or bring the real information in the motion moved. After that, we shall have the motion tabled for debate before this August 12th. We are going to start. We have 3 motions on board. We have a motion about the establishment of an innovation incubation fund for youth in agriculture as provided by the National Strategy for Youth Employment in Agriculture. We have the second motion that talks about provision of tax incentives in terms of tax holidays, youth involved in innovations and private businesses. We have our last motion that talks about capitalization and direct investment in sports and development. Honorable members, we are going to use approximately 1 hour to debate on these issues, make resolutions, and put them in a petition. I request that we observe maximum silence. If you want to submit, you're going to raise up your hand and be picked by the speaker. If you have any point to pass on, you're also going to move to raise your hand. We are going to start with motion.
Right, Honorable Speaker. The first motion, the motion on the provision of tax incentives in terms of tax holidays to youth involved in innovations and private businesses, will be moved by Honorable Mutunjisa Edgar.
Honorable Mutunjisa Edgar, if you're in the house, you can take over. Move the motion.
Right Honorable Madam Speaker, I'm Edgar Mutunjisa, here to move the motion on provision of tax incentives in terms of tax holidays to youth involved in innovations and private businesses. Right Honorable Speaker, and right Honorable members of this House, the COVID-19 pandemic has led to massive impact on many youth and other businesses, and many youth enterprises had shut down because they couldn't afford operational costs that came with all the disruption in their businesses. Uganda is considered as the most enterprising country with so many young businesses, and that makes it important, rather pertinent, that we do so much care about the progress of those businesses. However, Many young people involved in these enterprises, due to the issues of COVID-19, lost their livelihoods. And also we had issues like mental health breakdown to increasing because of the same. As the economy is recovering from the devastating effects of COVID-19, the youth startups remain affected by the high cost of operating a business. Right, Honorable Speaker, this is of very pertinent importance because this means that most businesses don't get to celebrate their first birthdays. And yet, the importance of youth inclusion in business, given the demographics of their numbers, and the estimated ratios at how they could be very important in the growth of the economy, remain very significant. In addition to that, there is need to restore the lost jobs and livelihoods. And so we suggest that the government should consider providing tax exemptions, incentives, and enabling legal and regulatory framework to further encourage the establishment and the growth of these youth startup businesses. Right, Honorable Speaker, I'd also like to add that this resolution is very important because it is in line with our regional aspirations as a East African community, following the resolution by the Council of Ministers in 2014 on harmonization of tax incentives, especially for the demographic of our youth. It's also very important and in line with the youth strategy that was adopted again by the same community. So given those unique disruptions that this causes our country, but also as already the motion already explained, we pray to present the motion and that we have provision of tax incentives in terms of particular tax holidays to our youth involved in innovations and private business. Thank you.
Honorable members in the House, the motion presented to us is about tax incentives. If you feel it right, you can second the motion to be debated, or if you feel it that it has no purpose in the current Uganda, especially in the Western region, we can put it down. Anyone to second the motion?
I hereby second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Member. Please, if you want to say something, or if you're submitting, if you're saying something, first tell us your name and tell us what you want to. Yes, we request that you tell us your name.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to second the motion that Honorable Edgar has tabled, and by also supporting it, saying that Uganda is the only country that does not put, in Africa and all over the world, that does not put a limit on the amount of money that foreign investors are able to pull out of the economy. We all know of Uganda Bati, however much it was called Uganda Bati, it had Zambian investors who were imposing very inflated, should I say, consultancy fees as loans, so as they could take out profit. So local Ugandan shareholders were not realizing profit on investment, yet these foreign investors were taking out the profits as loans. So the company was declared as unprofitable, yet it was just that the profits were being siphoned out. We see the reason why we have so many foreign banks. Right Honorable Speaker, currently people celebrated when Crane Bank collapsed. However, Crane Bank was owned by a dual citizen of Uganda, that was Sudil. And now we are only left with what? Centenary Bank. And we are still seeing laws that are suppressing the performance of SACCOs and credit institutions. So I hereby now support this motion, and we say it is really viable for the House to discuss it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. Members, the motion has been seconded for debate. If you have something to say, talk about it, or if you know anything that would hinder tax incentives in Uganda or our businesses in Uganda, please raise up your hand and we shall invite you to talk on the floor of Parliament. The motion is ready for debate. Business owners, especially young people in Uganda, Mbarara in Western Uganda in particular, face a lot of challenges while conducting their businesses. This is your time to present them to Parliament so that they be talked about, and maybe resolutions would be made in your favor. Yes, Honorable Member? When you reach here, you tell us your name and then you submit.
Thank you, Right Honorable. I'm Stefan Liomohachi. Regarding the emotion that has been tabled, I really agree with Honorable Hedeka who presented it here. We've seen very many scenarios, very many scandals happening, especially here in Western Uganda, here in Mbarara. Myself, I was, there's some scandal that happened in town where a local was driving and accidentally knocked a Chinese car. Some guy from China was driving and as accidents. It was even like an accident, and an error happened and just knocked the sides of some Chinese car. The guy was beaten in front of people who were just seeing like this. But the guys were like, beat him, beat him, beat him. Remember, he's a fellow. He's someone from Mbarara, and this is a Chinese. He comes from out and no one knows. Why does such things happen? Most of the times, you find we think these people are helping us. We think they're helping us. Instead, they are just demoralizing. They are taking everything from this side. You find if Uganda party owned by a private company, some investor from outside, they are given tax holidays, and you find like Varia, an investor here in Mbarara, he's not given. We have people here in Uganda who have businesses and employ people even more than people from outside. We have like Patrick Betatule, we have very many rich guys here, Pasaja Barawa, but you find they can't be given tax holidays just because they give tax holidays to people from out, and they want to just make them feel at home, you know, and attract more others to come. Without forgetting that we have our own investors here in UG who do better. They employ our own people in Uganda and they give them employment. We've seen construction companies, especially China construction companies, they come this side to do jobs, especially construction authorities and whatnot, but they come with their own people. On inquiry, they're like the prisoners that side, they are making their sentence this side and paying their own country. Why do you come to invest in Uganda and you really come with your own people to work on that specific job that you've been given? I really second this motion to be debated, and if possible, we table it in Parliament and thoroughly discuss. We have something to say about this. If investors come this side, they don't exploit people on the ground. If you come to invest, I don't stop them from coming, but let the Ugandans benefit. You find someone who's come from outside is paying much money than someone who's been employed from here, just because the other one is a white and this one is the black. He's on the soil of Uganda. I really pray that we will debate about this motion and we have it tabled. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Do we have businesses that are owned by the young people around in here? Is there anyone with a business within us? Is there anyone who has really been hindered by the tariffs and taxes that are put on their business? Do we have young people who own business and they can share with us their experience? Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm Kom Chalinas, and I really second the motion. I want to talk from experience because I've visited several businesses, and in fact, our youth are suffering under this so-called tax. I organized my fellow youth members. We started we're baking. But it was to my surprise, I thought it could help the community. Actually, it was helping the community because most students, like we were in COVID-19 pandemics, these students who could be moving around could be held up with this kind of baking business. But we faced a challenge whereby after 4 months, we covered 4 months, but we were tasked like to start paying taxes. And due to that, actually, it had to fail, it had to collapse, because you could pay this one today and tomorrow comes in another person. This one is from the district, this one is from the community, this one is from whatever. But we could not like deduct from what we were getting, like to fulfill what they were demanding from us, because it was too much for us. And actually we couldn't like support ourselves and again support the taxes that are being put on us. And some time back, I had to visit some other guy who had owned a business. This person is a youth, and actually it was doing well, and this business was these things that we used to, I don't know how I can call it. They wash their hands. I don't know, but that kind of thing. So this person, during the COVID-19, actually, he had a lot of demand. So they had to put like a lot of tax. They pressed a tax on his goods because this person was this kind of hand wash, yeah. So they told him, due to the fact that your business is operating, actually others are complaining to us that we cannot just like ask from them taxes because they completely close their businesses. But for you are at you are at advantage now to pay us more. So I felt that this count of hours actually demanding a lot from us. And I believe when you're working for yourself, you cannot be just like some other person who, like, you cannot be like the person who is employed. Because we believe if you have a boss, you cannot actually get what amount to what he's getting. So if I start a business and I'm actually press that kind of a high tax on me, it's just demoralizing the other people who could be their mentoring those people who actually want to start that kind of business. Or I could be a consultant, or I could be just like encouraging some other people to engage in a certain business I'm dealing in, because a lot of people outside are suffering unemployment, yet they cannot actually use what we have like right now to make our own businesses due to these high taxes that are imported on us, that are pressed on us. I beg to submit.
Honorable members, I would wish that we first appreciate the meaning of a business. What is a business? Is carrying a sack of cups in the morning by a young person and moving around town selling one cup by one cup? Is that a business? Carrying dodos like we see university students carrying, and like tomatoes, selling to the fellow students in hostels, or selling pancakes. Is that a business? Should we call it a mobile business, a moving business? But being a business in the first place, does it need a tax incentive? Does it or necessitate someone? Anyway, honorable members, the motion is for debate. While debating, consider any kind of business. Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, right, honorable speaker. I'm called Dennis Music, and I'm the youth councillor for Mbarara City South, where BSU is. And I came on my chairperson as well. So, like the right honorable said, we really need to be guided. These things are very clear, but they are just on paper, because we've seen people in this Uganda that are getting tax credits when they actually don't do any of these things that are in the papers. So what can we do? It's all about them. And this is what is on right now. Very many youth that were pushed into the agriculture sector, for example, go to business. They are closing their businesses down. I have two examples. They cannot buy the fields anymore. They can't. Okay? Another one, two of them. And these are kids of very rich people. So if that one cannot do it, I don't want to mention here names, but I'm telling you, I know them, they close business. They're waiting for when maybe the poultry. Right now, a kilo of tattoo is at 900. It's what they were accessible at 600. Yes. So, you are right, we need these tax holidays, like the rest, like the Sudilis get, but we should be guided that, so what am I saying? Like the right honorable put it, tax exemption is limited to a few things. For example, processing of agricultural goods is also limited to manufacture of or assembly of medical appliances. So if you're not in this field, what can we do? Because I know a friend right now, I will mention this, he's a one Kakumi, he's in the sports business, wants to start up a turf in Mbarara. There are only 2 turfs that are coming. That is the business, and I know we will debate it in our second motion for sports. But cannot have his turf in Uganda right now because the taxes are so high. So as we are discussing, I want us to be guided on how we can lobby like the Sudeels are lobbying. But it is clear that the tax incentives or tax exemption is limited to a few things, vocational or technical institutes, manufacturing of furniture and all that. It is a very limited scope. So let's be guided. Now, I would like to employ you so that we talk about how we can lobby for our youth so that they get those tax holidays that are out of these exemptions. I know Uganda has a lot of good paperwork, but people are doing it behind doors. For example, Sudil is getting all this, but does not belong here. So, thank you so much. I also second.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Speaker. What if we have tax incentives on general businesses? For example, if you have a small business and Varia has a big business, you all face the same tax. Or if there is a privilege that is given to Varia, it is also the same privilege that is given to someone with just a sack of things, a few things that he or she is selling. Let's also look at that aspect. Should we have tax incentives for specific businesses, or we should have a general or be considered like other people or like other businessmen and women? Honorable members, while you're speaking, please consider the businesses that are examples of businesses that are real in our area. In Mbarara, don't look at businesses that are in South Sudan or in Kampala. We have small businesses that are here that people don't know, but fail us to grow when they attack bigger taxes on them. Any other honorable member? A lady now.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Ahiro Tisha, and obviously I second the motion. We do believe that over 92% of youth in employment are poor, right? So, Right Honorable Speaker, it fits my understanding when it becomes a general problem for us all. Either you have a small business or a big business, we are all treated the same. Seriously, I say no because of my following reason. I will take an example, like in the villages, rural areas, people are especially the youth, they are doing their businesses on a small scale, and they don't have the starting capital, they don't have anything like much capital compared to these big businesses. How can you tell me that you impose those heavy taxes on them, yet they don't earn much from their businesses compared to these big businesses in towns? Right, Honorable Speaker, I want you to look into it. Secondly, these youth in rural areas, I can say they are seen as marginalized groups. They are underlooked. So they don't have any idea on these taxes. They are not trained. They are not given, like they are not put into workshops and taught on how they can manage their businesses. I request the government, if it can come in and look into these businesses, like on these small businesses for the youth, especially in rural areas, how they can manage and not treating them like imposing them on heavy taxes. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We are remaining with one Honorable Member to submit on this motion, and we put it to close. You've heard about the parish development model. I think we should have an Honorable Member to talk about it. Is it a tax holiday? Is it helping? What if we keep up with something of the same? What if we bring the youth livelihood program back? What if we bring, someone should come and clarify with that. Is it a tax holiday? Yes. Is it helping anyway? Yes. Or I've been told that we have someone who wishes to submit from the virtual. Okay. We recognize the presence of the people who are attending with us virtually. We are sorry we haven't recognized you, but now we know that you're with us. Thank you for following in. We shall keep in touch, keep submitting. If you have a question, ask. And if you want to tell us something, you can raise up your hand. They are going to allow you and submit.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This one is saying, my 2 cents on the first topic on the tax waiver for youth enterprises is that focus should be put on capitalizing the Uganda Development Bank with a lower than the central bank a rate of maybe 5% as opposed to 14%. This will accelerate youth access to the capital, investment, and create a spillover effect on the broader spectrum of the economy, piggybacking on the youth democratic dividend, number, and energy. Additionally, every idea is built on an efficient and technical system. To this end, I would propose the creation of an independent youth enterprise database capturing the business idea, funding the portfolio, SWOT analysis, staff, skills, or capacity gaps, CDG, goal being addressed, and scope of coverage in terms of market base, local, regional, continental, or global. This database should be hosted by the investment authority and verified to avoid buffering. It's this system that government can provide incentives like linkages, capitation grants, apprenticeships, and mentorship. Thank you, Honorable. These are the people from online.
Thank you, our Sergeant at Arms. You've not read us the name of that Honorable Member. I please request that you read us.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mujisha Dick Robbins.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Dick Robbins. We've heard from you. It's all about mentorship. I think, is that what the parish development model captures, or for it captures giving capital to you, to the young people, and not mentoring them or training them on which kinds of business are good and reliable for them, basing on their areas of location. Please, Honorable Member, would wish to have the last person, the last Honorable Member, talk about this motion, and we call the motion mover to close it. Anyone? Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Forgive my monotony. I'm a student of business. I wanted to extend what our representative has said. Business is any venture that someone undertakes to generate profit. If I get my 3 cups and I can make a profit of 2,000, I'm an entrepreneur. The only problem is that we live under this thing called the government that needs to collect tax. And that is why you see a lot of pressure is on hawkers. Yeah? But now government is saying, please formalize your businesses, put them in shops, so that once the taxman comes, they know where to find you, they can collect some money to run this thing they call a country. But now, technology has also brought another challenge, that we have hawkers who are online. Is that I can be a hawker on WhatsApp or on Facebook, and your system is not growing fast enough to tax me, a person who is sending my tomatoes across states on WhatsApp, because I don't need to hire any premise. You will not find me in any physical location. I just have direct contact. So this shows and maybe exposes a weakness in the rate of creativity of our business innovation and also our regulators in terms of tapping into those things that human beings have chosen to do. Now, I've talked about the problem a lot. How do we resolve it? We can only take a step from the last one we took. Ever since 1995, there was this thing they called a decentralization reform, where we create districts. Why does government do this? It does it that it may make it easy so that there is a more regionalized, a more localized center for administrative and financial autonomy. That these small districts and sub-counties can have their own planning, can also collect their own revenues. Now, the tax that URA collects is different from the tax that the municipality collects. URA will come for your business fees, mostly, and property tax, but the municipal will come for the rental fees, the market fees, your parking fees if you have a car. So we have not yet progressed from that discussion ever since 1995. As he said, it is on paper, very well written, beautifully, but somehow we have not seemed to capitalize on it, of saying, how do we now see this hawker and look at his business system without injuring it with a very heavy, lump sum cost of rent? How do we help him continue his business model since it works for him? Now, our government is not working that way. So what would pledge and extend to the discussion that will, materialize from this is, how do we creatively? Now we see the Ministry of Health is coming with this general management information system to deliver health care. We see that they are trying to bring software and technology into management and service delivery. Now you're concentrating on collection, and now this is where the people's pain lies. And now we even saw URA employing over 1,000 staff in domestic taxes, customs, to say we are collecting more money. But we do not see similar effort and morale when it comes to how this money is used. Where is this popular discussion of corruption, etc. So now our system is, can we see more effort that government is putting in collection being imparted in the same of service delivery, and using technology to overcome the human risk of corruption, embezzlement, that seems to pose a challenge, and us reigning so much in human stupidity rather than human wisdom. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Katunji Eric. We love your submission. Honorable Member, I request that you allow us to close the debate on this motion. We have very many motions to debate on. You can keep the discussion for the next motion. Please, the motion mover, come forward and tell us your prayers or tell us your resolution, what you want to be resolved on your motion. Thank you.
Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you so much for that session. Honorable members of the House, we appreciate your insightful declarations. I think the motion has largely been accepted by the members of the House. However, I think on about 3 things that tended to be not clear, which I think I could justify in these prayers. The first concern was whether this will be a premise for only the rich and the skills, or also for the small businesses. To avoid such scenarios, and largely because the youth are always in low capital initiatives, I think this is a policy that is supposed to be for incentives that largely apply to all youth businesses. Whether the youth is rich or is poor, for as long as you are youth, this incentive should be for you because you are the youth, not because you have a certain threshold of money, which is almost $1,000 that currently exists before you get an incentive. So that is going to be the one benefit that we are trying to have here. But also we are aware, and quite why this resolution remains open the speaker is because youth businesses sometimes have tried to be dictatorial. And so in that future where the businesses are getting dictatorial, these incentives would also include perhaps the reversal of the tax on internet, because most of our youth have their businesses online, and so to tax internet is in a way taxing their businesses. So I think that would be very important. And lastly, I think we can rest the fears that was happening from one of the honorable members. I think this is the house where we lobby for such an incentive, and only have to pray that this is pushed until it becomes a reality. And also we pray that we continue to harmonize this with the already existing petitions that are already happening. Some the Parliament, by National Youth Council, about this almost similar incentive, and that's what gives us confidence that indeed this motion, as adopted by this House, is going to be achievable. With that, we thank you so much, honorable members of this House, and thanks so much to our Honorable Speaker for the privilege to adopt this motion on provision of tax incentives in terms of tax holidays to our youth involved in innovations and private businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Your prayers have been heard and taken note of. You await the petition, and you'll find them there. We're going to have the second motion, where we're going to have someone to second it. There are 3 people or 3 honorable members to debate it, and we put it to closure for the interest of time. Please, when you come, mention your name and tell us what you have for us. I challenge the clerk to read for us the second motion.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Our second motion is on the capitalization and direct investment in sports towards development, physical infrastructure, to promote both patriotism and income generation in the sector. And Right Honorable Speaker, this will be moved by Honorable Katunji Eric.
Yes, Honorable Katunji Eric, the floor is yours. Come present to us what you think this House can debate on.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, the dignitaries present, and the honorables in the House in attendance, and those that are with us online. My name is Katunji Eric. I'm a student of business, pursuing a master's in business administration. I'm a level 3 CPA, pursuing to be a certified public accountant. But what is relevant here is that my passion, I was never blessed with the greatest talent, but my passion is in the field of sports. Because of that, in 2020, I registered an NGO called the Sport for Development Research Initiative, of which right now I undertake engagements. I only take on one client because of my current capacity. I work as the strategic advisor for the Uganda Rugby Union, and we are currently taking under the development of the strategy for rugby development in upcountry, that is Western, North, and East. How is sports different from other business? When I put up a shop next to yours, and our target population is 400 people, I have automatically divided your hopeful customer into 2. If people are seeing that we are now buying motorcycles and cars, they will put up more shops, and then we shall be sharing a target population of 400 between only 5 businessmen. This is what they call the weakness of capitalism and the law of diminishing returns, is that we compete with each other until we have all nothing to eat, and it's not enough to satisfy our egos. How is sports? And today it's sports, but music and art industry in terms of economic operations is also similar. With football, you sell a collective. With netball, with rugby, with martial arts, nobody becomes a champion without a competitor. That is why, by just surviving round 1 with a heavyweight champion in boxing, you will easily pocket over 90 million Ugandan shillings. Sports works better when there is more competition. That is why we did not know of the National Health Society in England, but we knew of Manchester United. We didn't know about Lil Wayne in the United States. We didn't know about the ministers in the United States. We knew about their artists when we were young. How do sports organizations generate revenue? All of them are the same. You can sell a ticket for a boxing match or football game. You can sell merchandise, a t-shirt or a jersey. You can sell a player, an asset, a striker or a boxer. You can also get a sponsorship, maybe from StarTimes or from Stanbic. But now the problem is on the costs that are involved in sports. And this is where the difference between countries that have managed to develop sports are much different from those that have failed, is that there is physical infrastructure. Is that by constructing one stadium, it can take you over 200 years of generating revenue in order to overcome them. And then there are also costs of wages. That is why when we read the newspaper, it is the same old song of clubs unable to pay their coaches, or unable to pay their players, or limited facilitation for a sporting entity that may be also representing you as a member of Uganda. This is the mismatch that brings this as today's priority. What is the problem? Is that the reason why they say that the African Ugandan mindset is back is that most of government, and since we all fish from the same pond, we are all the same people, the mindset in government, the mindset in companies, and the mindset in the population is still the same. Is that we still view sports as just a co-curricular or recreational activity, not as a commercial alternative, whereby Hollywood alone is 3 times our economy, whereby the Premier League alone is 4 times the economy of East Africa. And they can generate this in just a few months, not even a full financial year. So why are we getting it wrong? Is it that we lack the innovation to know how to harness most of these sports? And look at it, even though humanity was to change, we can have a different form of education, but as long as human nature is reset, let's assume Noah's flood took us away. There are 3 things that would never leave humanity: sports, art, or music. So this is inherent within the functionality of sports today. Now, as I have said, the principal barrier is that we have not recognized this entity. Why? Because one football, if I'm to start a business, Speaker talked about a business. If I'm to start a business now, I just need one retailer. And I will pay them and they will be able to survive. If I start a netball team, I have to pay a full squad of 20. They need a coach, they need a referee, they need a photographer. If they have a match with an opposite team, then of course you need the match officials, you need the videographers, you need the engineers who put up the facilities, you need the doctors for those who are injured, you need the physiotherapists for those who are good enough to go international, you need the lawyers to write these deals, both local and international. You see that sports is not just anything rudimentary. It engages the intellectual mass that is so claimed to fuel government, the banks, and any other form of business. So members, I hereby move this motion for the capitalization and direct investment in sports towards the development of physical infrastructure and talent, and to promote both patriotism and income generation in the sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. It is on our desk that sports officials have complained so much and for a long time. They haven't been heard. They don't have space. We take it as an alternative. It is just for leisure. This is the time. It's high time we debated about it and made it a priority. Now that we are a young generation, we can change it and bring it to the table and bring it for the young people who are passionate about sports and other things that are related with sports. We need some honorable member to second the motion. Yes, seconding the motion.
Thank you, Speaker. Again, Singles Dennis, and I second the motion. Thank you, Honorable Katunji, so much. And just of recent, before we passed the budget, the council budget, I cannot tell you how you people in Labour to explain to fellow honorables what sports means to this country And if as Mbarara City we could get a chance to step into that. I have a feeling that if I had Honorable Katunji, it would have increased from 30 millions to 100 millions, because that is where we started from. But I told you, it is all about lobbying. So before we started the session here, people were talking about people that are honorables that have to speak on the floor of parliament. It is more than that. You have to look for your fellow honorables. You tell them, please, at least even if it is 100, let it be 50. You have to talk to them. So, as per now, the council budget is on 30 million, but it was all because of our sweat, and we had to do it collectively with that chairperson that you're seeing in front of you. Thank you so much, chairperson. So, I am not only a youth councillor, but I have keen interest in sports because I'm the vice chairperson for the Jovok League. And I also play football. I'm a midfielder. I know what sports can really do for this country. And apart from just the income generation, did you know that sports helps in what are they called? Non-communicable diseases. People are getting strokes. You didn't mention that, Honorable Katunja, and you should always mention it. It is very key. It is not about the youth in sports, actually. It's about me, my grandmom, and it's not about actually only the men, even the ladies. I'm telling you, I had a burden to tell these people that it is not about, for them, of course, when you tell them about sports in all divisions, now they are looking at politics for 2026. But as well, sports, it is the only way you can collect people within a niche of time. I'm telling you. I was standing here and I told you this, and all these people that I'm mentioning are youth. There's a one Kakulu that is starting up a town. Do you know how much it costs for a youth to import a town? What will this stuff be? I think since he has keen interest in sports, he will tell you how much it is. You might be knowing the quotations. But I can tell you this guy is labeling to have this in Uganda right now. The facilitation is already set, but he cannot have it. There's another actually, just here across, by a one, I think is a son of Kashaka. But these people, the ground is set, but they cannot have the taps in Uganda because they lack the money and they have to save the little that they can. But what will these taps be used for? For training what? Academies. And that is how we get the talented people from Mbarara. So I really second this motion and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Member. Does sports encourage development in our country? If not yet, or if not, how can we do it so that we find it as an alternative for youth or for the young people to invest in? In most cases, we've seen sportsmen go to the beach, spend a lot of time. We've seen people watch sports on TVs. How does the country gain from such ventures? If you watch a sports activity on a TV, how do we gain as a country? Or if you train young people, how does a country gain from your incentive or from your venture? Sorry. Honorable members, the motion is open for debate. If you want to say something or if you want to debate upon it, come on board by raising up of your hand. Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Sorry. For starters, I'm Mukenyi Justus Kizito, the Guild President of Mbarara University of Science and Technology. About this motion, if there was a possibility, I would be the right person actually to move the motion, because it's crystal clear for everyone. Very, very crystal clear for all of us that sports, when you go to European countries, it's actually the largest sector that generates income. I'll give you just small precedences that have been happening. For those of us who love football, statistics have it that the last Champions League finals that happened in France, that single day, the amount of revenue that was collected just during that match is bigger than the budget of all East African countries for more than 2 financial years. Just one day. When we talk about infrastructure development, for those who have been following sports, I think you and I will affirm to the fact that the government has done less efforts to develop the infrastructure of sports. For instance, we had a football match between Uganda and Niger. Just because our main playground, that's Nambole, is not in a very suitable condition to host any game. The match had to be taken to one of the private sector's stadium. That's for Lawrence Mlindwa. Do you all believe that the match was played at St. Mary's Kitende? Now, how much was collected during that game? First of all, the stadium is not all that big to accommodate the very many numbers of people who would want to come and watch. And secondly, that individual collected large sums of money that if the government had done extra efforts to improve on its infrastructures in the country, I want to believe that we shall generate a lot of income in this country. Besides tourism and agriculture, Uganda has one of the best talents in football. For those who have at least followed, you will believe that we always export one of the best, but only that, I don't know what exactly the problem is, but if there is any better way I can actually second this motion. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to second this motion with my utmost faith that if the government invests a lot in sports, the government will, the country at large will be a better place. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Member. I would wish to inquire from the technical team whether we have any submission online or a query. If not, yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Speaker. I second this motion, even I think more than 100%. I think most of the people in this country, including our political leaders, they are not informed about sports. There are a few people who actually think it's in the parliament. You find our MPs don't even know one game or two of them. If you can see on the globe of Africa, on the continent of Africa, one of the developed countries in Africa, they are the most active in sports. According to the ranks they made recently for the CAF Confederation Cup that was happening, they were looking for countries that have the best stadiums to take those competitions to. Uganda had none. It had none. They were considering Cameroon, they were considering Egypt, South Africa, they were considering Morocco. Those developed countries, they are the ones that have the best stadiums. If you can see what happened in South Africa in 2010 in the World Cup, over the finals were Netherlands and Spain, like that. One of the teams won 1-0. I would think this money that they are wasting into our youth livelihood, parish development model, they won't help anything. They were like, one parish, which will be given 17 million. Like my parish, it has 8 villages. 17 million, it means per village, it will be getting around like 1.5 or 1 million. And there are around like 5 groups that are registered in our village. It means 1 million, every group will be getting around like 200. And each group, there are around like 20 to 30 people. So it means each person will be getting around like 20,000. Imagine, 20,000. If they got all this money and they built stadiums, this money that they wasted in putting in the parish development model, they built at least like 3 or 4 standard stadiums. You will find we are hosting most of the games around Africa, even around the world. We have the capacity of of hosting even the World Cup. Do you know how much you can gain in hosting World Cup? Do you know how it's been happening in Russia, in Qatar, in South Africa? Everything that this World Cup has been participated in. If we see most of the budgets for these countries that know what to do, not like UG, you find after like health, the next is sports. Even after like health, agriculture, the next is sports. If you have a football team like Manchester United, hey, don't ask me why I'm using Manchester United, but you will find it at least has the opportunities of hosting every sector. If it's medical, you need doctors and nurses, you need people to supply food, you need people that supply jerseys, you need everything. I don't know why. Maybe we should change all our MPs. We take us young people there. Let's contest and be in the parliament, and we actually think of sports. We don't have any stadium in UG. I think the best thing is we should drive this motion, they elect to the parliament, and they argue it out. And we see maybe if it can work out. But even I have little hopes because the people who are there, they are not informed, they don't know, and they can't give us the chance of going to parliament to argue it there ourselves.
Yes, you are out.
Thank you very much. Parliament of Uganda in this budget has actually approved 48.1 billion for the sports sector. That is an increment from 18 billion the previous budget year. So what does that mean? It means that we have had an increment in the money that has been allocated to the sports sector. There is also 15 billion that has been allocated through the local government to the rehabilitation of 2 sports facilities. So that means the government of Uganda is trying to embrace the importance of sports. We can, when there has been an increment in the money to the National Council for Sports, it means that at least the government has started recognizing that sports is a very important thing. So I think it would be very unfair for us to say that Parliament has failed to recognize. But with this increment, at least from the budget that has been read, at least there is an improvement that probably we can have more and more and more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your information. Okay, I've loved it, but I think that's not supposed to be. It's just in this budget. What about sometime back? We have our authorities, like Putege. You find he has won a gold medal in US, and no one knows on media. You see him posting himself on Instagram that I was in Michigan, I was in San Francisco, and I won this, and no one knows about it because we are not following these things. We are not sponsoring these authorities. You find someone after winning like a gold medal is now in commando because people are not minding about it. So you think we should embrace it? Okay, thank the government of Uganda maybe for adding more on what has been, what it was given last financial year. But something should be done more than this. At least we reach like $1 trillion. Maybe we have at least like one substandard stadium per district. That's when our government and the sports sector will.
Point not allowed for the interest of time. Honorable members, thank you, honorable member. Honorable members, I want us to bring out a clear picture of how the sports industry promotes patriotism. What is patriotism in this case? If you're telling us that sports, yes, should be realized and felt, should be invested in, what will it help the country in terms of patriotism? Thank you. Yes, Honorable Edgar, yes, you can come.
Thanks so much, our Honorable Speaker. Though patriotism could have different definitions from what I learned yesterday, but I think largely patriotism in this case would be something that just enhances one's love for the country. Anything within that line could qualify as patriotism. So I think what sports does in terms of unity, it's one of that sector that makes people united, and also even make them aware that they can still be united even when they have dissenting voices. So people can support different teams, have conversation around it, and just not kill each other. That's because they disagree on who is the best. So I think in terms of that peaceful coexistence, that further enhances love for the country, sports would be very important. But also, I think patriotism can be threatened when people don't trust the systems. Sometimes people start to hate their own countries and start to flee. So, and yet we are aware that of all sectors that could give us economic upgrading, sports is the only sector probably that is a little corruption free, because in most cases you grow on merit. So it is not like these other sectors where we find nepotism working so much to advance other people. So a lot of that means is that investment in sports would be almost our only corruption-free economic activity. But beyond that, in a world where we are increasingly trying to be a liberal, to match the standards that other speakers have already demonstrated, investment in sports is therefore not just a health call, but also a liberation call because of the various economic activities that could spark from the same. That's why I think on the idea of patriotism, it would be a very good thing to embrace, that it further promotes that unity, but at the same time, further promotes that love for the country, because we shall see real talent that is not really so easy to corrupt, because you cannot make Edgar appear as the biggest footballer, even if the dad was a president. It may never happen. So that's the beauty about sports. I think that's how people will definitely love it.
Thank you, Honorable Member. One man with one submission from this August House. If there is a lady, preferably a lady, you should, come, a lady. Don't we need women in sports? Yeah, let's give them a platform, also add out their views.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now I'm going to talk as a sports lady because I'm in sports. I'm in Cheshire Queens FC. I wear just 18. So I'm a sports lady and I have a clue on what actually I'll be talking about. This Cheshire Queens FC, we play both football and rugby. So I second the motion. As a sports lady, we have had several challenges regarding sports.
Honorable Member, kindly remove your mask. We would wish to see your face. In the days of COVID, but you're at least a bit far from us.
Yeah, I'm called Kong Chalinas once again, and I second the motion. So, in sports, I love sports, of course, but I think we've been demoralized, I don't know by the government or by ourselves, on how to go about it. Because we've had several matches, but actually where we are playing from, you get an accident at your own risk. Like if you're broken, you broke at your own risk. So most of the times, we don't have anything like infrastructure around. In my ward, I'm from Cheshire Ward. We have two playgrounds, one from Robienge Primary, it's for one Robienge Primary School, and some other playground at Cheshire. But if you look at the playground at Cheshire, you cannot just think that there is actually it's a playground, because it's sort of a garden. When I'm down, I'm actually looking at the person who is up. So if I don't see anywhere sports lady being facilitated, being praised actually on social media and some other sources of information, where will I get this kind of vigor? I have a talent, yes, but I don't have anywhere to express my talent from. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Member. There is an instance where parents don't even support sports. What if the government funds sports and your parents refuse? What it call for also for argument or debate when the government has already done its part? Why don't we look at ourselves also instead of blaming the government? Why don't we look at our societies and then we call the government after? Members, I request that while you're talking, we don't push everything to the government or towards the government. We also look at ourselves being involved. Because the definition of the government, I think it is us. Not so. It is us, we are the government. What are we doing to make the sports sector a better place or a better space for the young people? I request the motion move one last submission from Honorable Fahad about this debate, and the motion mover comes in to tell us his prayers, to say his prayers.
I'm Senator Fahad. And if you are given an opportunity to watch a match of Uganda cranes, you rather watch the match of the sheep cranes, because it is more interesting and you can have fun. So the Uganda cranes team, I don't feel like it is no longer a team, though it is the team that is given the biggest budget. Another thing is, right from the grassroots, everything is expensive. Buying your children shoes and everything so that he can play football, it is also a challenge. Parents are no longer getting interested. Moreover, you've played football in Uganda, you will stay nothing. If we are here in Mbarara right now, I also play for Western region. Because right now, we had interest. Other people in Western love football. They were supporting Mbarara City with their heart. But right now, what will they support again? If the man is no longer interested in putting in his money. Uganda putting in money. You will put in money for the next 15 years, but to get back your money in sports, you will need 30 years, because it's a lot. Sports things need a lot of things to put in. Putting all that ground, you will need money that even if you start getting in football, you will need over 40 years to regain back your money. What the government should do, it should look for people who have money, because the government does not have that money, and that money will not be there anyway. But even people who have money, they are built on head. They don't come up. People who are in sports will stay in sports because they don't want to leave sports. It's like their home. They are not going to leave. That is the biggest challenge we have in Uganda.
Thank you, Honorable Fahad. There is one speaker said that talent attracts funding. What if we don't have talented people in sports? I'm just saying. Or what if the people who are in sports are not doing something attractive for the government to come in and intervene and maybe fund them the way they want? Or what if you're being funded and not using the funds the way it should be? Yes, sir. Around.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to disagree with the point that Uganda does not have talent. When we go to the athletics, we all know the contribution. We all know what Joshua Cheptegei. We all know what Stephen Kiprotich. We know all these athletics have done or contributed to this country. They have actually, these are the people that have gone ahead to save our country. But to find that we are struggling to complete the training center in Kapchorwa that the president promised, it's very, very, very heartbreaking. Because why would we keep on having our athletes go to train in Kenya, yet we can be able to establish facilities that can actually have our athletes train within the country? Don't you think that is a lot more money for them to go and prepare and train from Kenya if they should be doing so in Uganda? I think we have talented people in the country. Look at football. We have talented people in football, but the problem is that we do not have infrastructure where their talents can be nurtured. Take for example, what did we have in Western Uganda? The stadium that we should be having is Kacheka. What is the state of Kacheka at that moment? that means that it would be very hard for us as a country to nurture the talents that we have in the country. I think we have talents, but the problem is that we have not been able to invest in infrastructure. Then the other point that I would like to talk about is the aspect of the law. As of now, the sports sector is operating with the National Council of Sports Act of 1964. That law is very archaic, obsolete, and it is out of touch with the current developments in the sports sector. First of all, that law does not promote investment in sports, simply because it does not take care of issues to do with things to do with sponsorships, things to do with image rights, things to do with intellectual property, and these are the biggest sources of income in the sports sector. So the moment we do not have our sports law amended such that it is in line with the current developments in the sports sector, then probably what we are doing is that we shall be wasting time. But the good news is that when the president was at the presentation of the budget speech, where the president is and the State of the Nation address, the president presented the different bills that are going to be considered in the upcoming session of Parliament, and the sports bill is among. This is because members of Parliament have been pestering. You remember previously, Honorable Moses Magogo sought leave of the House to present a private member's bill of the sports bill. But that sports bill was not presented. The government requested that they would need time the government, through the office of the leader of government business, said that they would need time to look at the private members' bill that was suggested, such that they can make an input. So we are hopeful that maybe the sports law can be amended, and then we can have a sports law that is in line with the current developments. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the information, right, Honorable Member. If we don't have any submission from the people, honorable members online, I request the motion mover to come and say his prayers, and we conclude the motion.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. As members were presenting, I was trying to do my best to gather a feeling. You know, the school from Sasha quit, yeah, something. Yeah, on playing on a facility, yeah, that is almost that like a garden. In Kacheka, whenever it rains, we have to play in those potholes. And you know rugby, you still have to train because there's a match coming in. Then they hit you into a pothole of mud. And what are you doing it for? You know, there's that thing that keeps you going. Something you can only find in sports that you cannot find in working for a bank. Yeah, these are things that come natural. I would love to thank the honorables that presented their opinions. One of the reasons that pushed me onto this mission was a visit to Kasese. For them, they were in the process of constructing a facility. So I think a funder came and the project was stopped halfway. But when it was stopped, they had just thrown gravel. Yeah? Yeah. So they poured gravel onto the pitch, and then the project was stopped by the district. I don't know, maybe I don't want to go deep into the story. But then it was left like that. Then just next to it was just a pile of, flat dust where these guys put up 2 basketball poles. And when I came, I asked the guy, because he likes basketball. I was like, does the ball bounce? He was like, you come at 5. Yeah? Me, I was sure that a basketball can't bounce here. Yeah? But he was like, you do what? You come at 5. And I did come at 5. You people, there's no other place to find a vibe in Kasese than the other place. So there are things that are entrenched within human passion, human interests, that African parents have debunked as useless, and it's now costing us because we do not have enough viable commercial alternatives for people to go chase what they want, do what they want, and earn money from it. That is what today's presentation was all about. And for what we are carrying to the next platform, Honorable Musinguzi came up and talked about sports should be inculcated into the mission of the Ministry of Education and Sports and also the Ministry of Health, since it is in position to combat the rising challenge of, he mentioned physical health, but I got reminded that also 14 million people in the country are projected to be patients of mental health. So I think the Ministry of Sports, and thank you, one of our guests today, you mentioned about the Sports Act of 1964. Well, when I looked at the guide, I saw that most of those things were because of the fact that we are operating on the Uganda Education Act of 1963. So the Sports Act came after 1964 and has never been revised since then. So, but I was like, okay, let me push. I don't have time for history. Let me first talk about these other things. So, thank you very much, Honorable Musinguzi. I believe that is a point we can extend, since it involves not only the core participants of sports, whether investors or players, also in the community. I want my father or mother to live longer, because there is a facility they feel proud to visit. If Kacheka was well built, maybe they run 2-3 times and then they can go back home. Then there was His Excellency in the House, Mr. Honorable Mujenyi, who talked about incentivizing capital developments, which includes all physical infrastructure that relates to sport development. Yes, I even saw an article about how, yes, Mr. Mulindwa was constructing his facility for Vipers. I've also heard even Arua Hill doing some work there. So there are very many people who have already noticed. The private sector is always watching. Is our government watching as quickly as they can? Because they want to go ahead. But then it is almost impossible. In fact, they are doing you a favor. The reason why sports in the United States is more profitable than even the English Premier League, profitable for those people engaged in it, is that the government chose to say, we shall build the facilities, you rent them. For us, we shall take on a loan as government, since government will exist, and spread the loan for over 200 years. Yeah? In COVID, we were seeing parents who were stopping their kids in the name of strictness from going out to play sports. They were now begging those people who own balls in facilities that please take our children. Why? Because my husband wants to sleep with my daughter. Why? Because we cannot stop beating them. Why? Because we are polite. And the person you could trust is that local coach who, after his hard job, bought his ball and a few cones, goes to pitch to do something that is good for your children. But then again, you look at it in another perspective. That mindset needs to change. Because where are the other safe spaces? Now, to Mbarara City, sincerely, where can you go when you are a youth who has 1,000 in the pocket? Unless you're going to a boutique. The town is only full of shops and banks. Are we creating a town? Are we creating a society? Or we are creating a jungle of profiteers that is meant only to create this systematic imbalance? Thirdly, there was Honorable Stefan who came and mentioned the point. And for people who are very age sensitive, that you cannot pick wisdom from a young person, may get insulted by this one. That we should look at educating our representatives on the urgency and the need of how to execute sport development. They should not, no one should be ashamed to be educated on anything, and not only in sports. In the United States, delegates, because they know it's a complicated country with complicated culture, they have to educate MPs on history. And for us, some of these guys, just because you're getting the most people to raise their hand and you think you're the most knowledgeable person to debate on policy, please, we respect you, we loved you, we pushed you there, but also take that respect and the high pay that you take in, take time to read books and consult experts on how things are done. Then also, Honorable Edgar, thank you. You came in and in conjunction with Komugisha, you were backing up on the point of patriotism. Yeah? It is hard for me to feel so patriotic when Dennis Onyango does not depend on the pay from the national team or a pension scheme from the national team. For he has served one, I think, the greatest footballer in our history now, Dennis Onyango. But I'm sure that the money he gets is from Mamelodi Sundowns in South Africa. Not most of it coming from the Uganda Cranes. And by the way, mind you, netball is the most successful sport in Uganda, followed by the Olympics and followed by, followed by football. But netball, in terms of which, actually, it's Olympics first, then netball second. In terms of reaching the highest competition level, competitive level, it is the gold medal that we have seen in the Olympics. Sinzikuru also did it. There was a woman first there. Then after there, we had what? we had netball appear in the World Cup of Liverpool. And we know that most of our netball players are the greatest exports. And then you're talking about saying girls are not included. It's just that you're not doing enough research. Yeah? So I would love to say that, and also to benchmark on the issue of how safe spaces, not only do we create national figures, and not only we talked of Mbarara City, we look at the mindset that most of these clubs are holding here, is that these are society identities. I may be living in Mbarara, but I see Onduparaka, my club, from my home. So you see somebody, you're sure that he's from that side in a green jersey, Onduparaka. What are you going to tell him? He's a caterpillar. Yeah? They are underdogs that have reigned champions. That is pride. That is national pride. Then I tell him, oh no, you're fake. Onduparaka is like, no, you can't kick a ball. Unity. There you have unity. You have a sense of identity. And then at the end of the day, you have a better national team. Then also, we had Mr. Stefan come back. Not only did he talk about the education of MPs, he talked about the wages of players. Me, I can assure you, you leave this place and meet a first-team player of Mbarara City, and I'm not meaning to insult, pick 5,000 from the pocket and give the man. He will call you uncle. But the man, if he was in Europe, he should be a celebrity. And these guys in Europe are not special. Pick a guy from Michigan in the US, Chicago, bring them on the streets of Kampala, tell them to earn a living. Then they will tell you that they now know what life means. So we need to look at how to restructure this. This is not a sugar daddy venture where you put in money and it will not come back. No. Some countries have showed us that they are able to profit from sports. Why don't we stop being lazy and put our minds to actually creating this commercial alternative?
Honorable Member, your time is getting done.
All right. Last point was by Honorable Fahad, and it should be also carried forward to the conversation, talking about revising the budgetary appropriation of sports. Yes, 48 billion has been released, big chunk of money, but once you read the articles, most of this goes to administration, just like the way our government is run, so it is the same song. Then the next goes to conditional expenditures, that it must go to the national team. It must go to basketball, national team. My ladies, by the time the little balance is left, all these federations, Uganda Boxing Federation, what are left aside. And that's patriotism. Now I've talked about budget appropriation, so that should be revised. How do I conclude, ladies and gentlemen? Golola Moses, whenever the country is looking for icons to provoke your patriotism, they bring people like who? Golola Moses. The man single-handedly. My secondary school headmaster would have hated Golola Moses. Looks at this guy as the guy who wastes time ever in fighting. But Uganda needs him when they're trying to bring the country together. Why? He brought us together to beat a Hungarian. Coach Onyango, Dennis. This is by having such symbols that represent us all, a country of mixed cultures. Yeah? This is something that we cannot take for granted. When we are taking these sciences much more important than the things that enable us to design how we live, then we are getting something wrong. I hereby make this presentation. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, the time and thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We've heard all about the motion. We debated upon it, and I think we've heard the prayers. They are being taken note of, and they are going to be presented at the floor of the Parliament of Uganda. We're going to have the last or the third motion from one honorable member, and it's going to be seconded and debated upon by strictly three members, and we call it a day. Honorable member, you can come. The clerk to Parliament is going to read us the motion, and the honorable member to move it is going to be called upon, come and present it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right Honorable Speaker, here is our third motion, and it's on the establishment of an innovation incubation fund for youth in agriculture as provided for by the National Strategy for Youth Employment in Agriculture. Right, Honorable Speaker. This will be moved by Honorable Ahirire Letitia.
Yes, Ahirire Letitia, take the floor and move the motion.
A very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ahirire Letitia. I work as a community engagement lead and call young farmers. First of all, I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity, and thanking the organizer who identified me to move this motion, hoping I'm the right person to move on this motion. As you all know, agriculture is the backbone of Uganda's economy. I was challenged by my friend here who said agriculture is no longer the backbone, but the oxygen. Reason why? You can break the backbone today, but you can't break the oxygen. You can't live without oxygen. So I'm here to move on the motion on the establishment of an innovation incubation fund for youth in agriculture as provided for by the National Strategy for Youth Employment in Agriculture. As you all know, Uganda's economy relies heavily on agriculture, which employs about 65%. And among the 65%, 63% are the youth. The youth make up the largest percentage of Uganda's population, and over 92% of youth are in employment. And they represent some of the biggest cohorts in extreme poverty. Right, Honorable Speaker, we as the youth, we try to bring in innovative ideas, which we try to bring it out to the government, and the government is trying to bring up some of the funds, and these funds, and they are not implemented or they are not established. In 2017, as one way of fighting unemployment among the youth and encouraging youth participation in agriculture, through the National Strategy for Youth Employment in Agriculture, the Innovation Fund for Youth in Agriculture was established, but it has never been implemented or established. The aim of this fund was to ensure that Uganda's enterprising, innovative youth are reached with proper incentives to help them unleash their potential in agriculture. Right, Honorable Speaker, where I come from Mbarara, but 90% of the youth have gained from these funds. They have not gained from these funds. Reason why? Our government is corrupt. They do things behind the scene. Right, Honorable Speaker, in 2017, when the government launched this fund, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, or which we call MAIF, put a way of increasing the access to financial services for our youth through establishment of Innovation Incubation Fund for Youth in Agribusiness, which many youth, young farmers had welcomed as a long-awaited solution. But up to now, trust me, they have never benefited from this fund. And that's the reason as to why we are here. Why aren't we receiving these services or these funds from the government? You have seen the services from the government, for example, the parish development model, the youth livelihood. I want you to testify how many of you have gained from the youth livelihood and the parish development model that is on now going. Me personally, I have registered for parish development model, but I have a doubt. And that's the reason as to why we are here, Right Honorable Speaker, to put up reasons as to why these funds cannot be accessed by all these youth in different areas. Furthermore, the current financial products, such as the loans, the grants from the private sector, are not responsive for the youth. Financial constraints, access funds for startups. Yeah, they provide us these funds, but there are some challenges which the youth cannot manage. For example, they put the prohibitive collateral attached to these loans. They put the exorbitant interest rates, which the youth cannot manage. Trust me, if you put high interest rates, the youth in the local areas, in rural areas, they can't manage them. Why do you provide funds at the same time you put this interest? And that's why, Right Honorable Speaker, we are here to debate about it. Second, there is high cost of formalization of youth business enterprises. Right Honorable Speaker, as I sum up, I beg that the government of Uganda should build a financial spectrum that will enable youth in agriculture for intubation. And I request the August House to debate about this motion. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Members, the motion has been moved about establishment of an innovation incubation fund for youth in agriculture as provided by the National Strategy for Youth Employment in Agriculture. While debating, don't forget, or while you're thinking about it, don't forget that the government has also been there for us in terms of encouraging youth to participate in agriculture. What do you think if the government gives you money or gives you capital? For example, the parish development model, through that model, or through the previous Emyoga, the Youth Livelihood Program, what does it intend to do? Do you want them to come to your home and tell you, you can rear rabbits, you can do this or this and this? Or the government just gives you money and then it's upon you to do something that you really see that you can best do. Members, the motion has been tabled. I request that you second it or we leave it for the next time. Anyone second the motion? Don't we have youth in agriculture around here? Yes, Honorable Member. Tell us your name and then second the motion.
Madam Speaker, Rauben Wagaba. I represent the youth at the ward level here in Chinengo in the Mbarara Division. And again, I'm in the field of agriculture, of which at least I'm having a certificate in it. That's why I'm here to talk. When I heard of this motion about this government funds about the agriculture, I would like to tell the House that for me, I'm worried on these funds. Most likely, PDM, when I'm talking PDM, I'm meaning this Paris development model. For me, and as you've heard that I'm in agriculture, and again, I'm heading the youth at the ward. I'm directly on the committee of the Paris development model. But will it be successful? The answers are many, but I will just mention a few. For me, I last saw the government funds in 2008. That's where the youth got some projects from the government. But as per now, the government is providing this money for the youth, for the PDM. But the PDM, they are bringing 100 million to people who have even like primary 4. And you expect someone, he's already thirsty. That is one. He has no knowledge on PDM, and they are bringing 100 million. for him to manage. I think the government lacks some, even though it will help, but it lacks some knowledge, sensitize people, just to give them a grace period for people to get ideas. So just the technical staff should also take note on this policy model and even other government funds. And even another point which is very crucial to youth. Some youth, they are saying the money is there, but in those smaller circles, but the conditions are very tough. Like, you know, if you can say bring for us this land title to give you a loan, will I manage to give you a land title so that you can give me a loan for that money? So there are things that the government should mainly look as very important things. So those up should check on those things before they bring this money to the people. Madam Speaker, would like to engage the House to talk about these funds.
Honorable members, yes, request granted. He has a point of information. You tell us your name.
Thank you. My name is Mbarara Johnson, the youth chairperson from Mbarara City. I would like to inform the previous speaker that actually the programs have been put in place. You last heard of a program, government program that supports the youth in 2008. I would like to disagree with you with live examples. We've had YLP previously, though it has been suspended. It has been suspended for about 3 years, but at least it has been there. We have youth who can really testify that they have benefited from this program. We've had the Myoga. To my surprise, you've not benefited from the Myoga, much as you are the youth chairperson for a parish. That is really absurd. Then about the parish development model. Well, I think the idea would be okay, but the problem is coming with the implementation. I believe that most of you here know and think that the youth are supposed to get a share of 30%. That was according to the guidelines that were released in the first place. But you're the committee member, but I'm so sure that you're not aware that the 30% will be shared with PWDs. Are you aware? Oh, thank you. But most of the people are not aware that actually the 30% will be shared with the PWDs. We are having a challenge of the policymakers versus the implementers. The policy that was formulated in the first place was talking about the 30% for youth enterprises. But when it came to implementation, they're having a different language. 30% is to be shared with PWDs, which is okay, but it's not enough for us. Basing on the fact that other programs for youth have been scrapped off in favor of PDM. So we would expect the government to come in to give us at least a good share. Because if you have scrapped off YLP in a disguise of you're going to support, to put all the money into one basket, PDM, then why give the youth a little share? So my fellow members, in as much as we don't appreciate what is happening apparently, but let's discuss this issue from an informed perspective.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We are looking at an innovation incubation fund for the youth in agriculture, as stipulated in the National Strategy for Youth Employment in Agriculture. Don't you think that we have enough youth in agriculture today? Don't we have associations that are training and mentoring young people to participate in agriculture? Why are we calling upon the government? Why don't we leave it at that? Aren't we satisfied, honorable members? Please, you can also support the government and tell us what it has done, the good it has done towards encouraging youth to participate in agriculture, or to the youth who are already in agriculture. The problem is we, the young people, are not identifying ourselves or bringing ourselves overboard for them to at least include us in the process of distribution, in the process of decision making, in the process, because when we go there and they give us 100, we keep quiet. Anyway, I'm not here to debate. We would wish to have a last honorable member talk about this or debate upon this, and we call it a day. If it's not there, the motion mover can come and have the floor, say your prayers about the motion you moved.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Once again, Letitia here is my name, and the Community Engagement Lead, Uncle Young Farmers. First of all, I want to thank the honorable members in the House for your submissions. Thank you very much. My prayer is, as Mr. Dennis has said, we need to give this money to the right people. Exactly. Seriously, you can't tell me someone is not passionate about agriculture, is doing some other business. Right, Honorable Speaker, I want to challenge you that if you're not passionate about something, you cannot put all your minds on it. We need to change the mindset of agriculture. Secondly, the Right Honorable Speaker, Nwagaba, he said the government puts on some conditions which the youth cannot afford on these funds. And my prayer is the government should at least simplify these conditions. At least the youth who are in agriculture should benefit from all these funds that they are giving out. And I think we shall make a better economy. Lastly, it's about the policymakers and the implementers. I think here, this is where the problem is. There is a lot of corruption, because the government can raise the money, but when it reaches to these leaders in high, I can say, in councils, they embezzle these funds between the policymakers and the implementers. Thank you, Right Honorable, for this motion, and I pray that this motion should be adopted and moved forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I realize that cheap things are always expensive, so therefore, those conditions attached on getting maybe funds from the government should remain, and actually should even be increased, so that if you take something, you realize that you got it out of sweat and use it valuably. And another thing, for anything to earn value, it should have a condition. Yes, you need money as young people, but are you going to invest it well, or are you passionate about agriculture like you said, or you're just getting money and in the end you're going to use it to drink waraj and the things, the other simple things that young people spend money in. Members, we've had all the motions debated upon, and we've really given in our thoughts and everything that we really felt should be passed on. If there is something that you've not said right here, it hasn't been captured and it's not going to be captured. If there's something that you've said and you realize it hasn't been enough. You can follow Faraja Foundation or African Youth Federation, and you tell them they will reach those, they will take your submission. Note of. We are going to have the resolution read before us so that they don't take things that we've not said. We acknowledge them and they don't make them. I call upon the clerk to Parliament, read the resolutions for all the motions before this August House. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank you so much for running a successful session. For me, I don't believe in meetings that end in smoke. I love seeing fire. And Right Honorable Speaker, I have an assurance to make this afternoon that we got fire. We had 3 motions, and the first motion on the order paper, it was the motion on the establishment of an innovation incubation fund for youth in agriculture as provided for by the National Strategy for Youth Employment in Agriculture. And Right Honorable Speaker, this motion was moved by Honorable Ahilire Letitia. And was seconded by Honorable Nwagaba. And very strong resolutions were made. Now, through you, challenge the House to later on confirm if I hold true records. The House appreciated all the funding programs like the PDM, but called for serious, strict, and honest implementation of the concepts to ensure the beneficiaries, those programs intend to benefit, have actually benefited. And on whether the youth use the funds appropriately, the House resolved that the youth should be cautioned, advised, and skilled to actually use funds for the rightful and promising projects, and those misappropriating to face the long arm of the law. And the House further agreed that there should be more legislators fighting for sports industry to receive every form of support urgently needed to catapult the development of our economy. And the House called for creation of trust in the leaders of the sports industry as key to having a developed sector, but also very important in grooming patriots. And the House went on to seek serious publicity of sports engagements, serious calls for active participation, and positive attitudes that it's actually possible to have sports as one of the most prominent industries in Africa and abroad and beyond. And interestingly, the House resolved that our athletes should be facilitated with beautiful infrastructure to actually enable them train every day from within the country. And the existing Sports Act needs to be revised as soon as possible. Right, Honorable Speaker, on the third motion, the motion on capitalization and direct investments, on our third motion, the third motion on capitalization and direct investment in sports towards development, infrastructure, physical infrastructure to promote both patriotism and income generation in the sector. This was moved by Honorable Katunji Eric. And I hope on this I've already read the resolutions, right?
maybe the pending resolutions now to be read are resolutions on agriculture. Oh, sorry. The motion on provision of tax incentives in terms of tax holidays to youth involved in innovations and private businesses. And this was the motion moved by Mutunjisa, the Honorable Mutunjisa, Edgar. And the motion was seconded by Honorable Katunji, Eric, sorry. And the House looked at the provision of tax incentives worth a debate, and since COVID-19 era, the House believed and accepted unanimously that youth are struggling. The House continued to assert that the motion entirely looked at the youth that were involved in businesses and not the youth that were just seated. And therefore, the House sought to protect them. The foreign investors should not continue to take the priority of tax incentives provision. The House asked that the youth-led enterprises should not be allowed to continue shrinking because of high taxes, given a shaky financial foundation and tax exemptions, holidays, and others should be rendered to the youth involved in genuine businesses. And the House acknowledged the fact that the youth are failing to buy raw materials for their establishments due to high costs. And certainly, these costs are always as a result of heavy taxes imposed on these raw materials. And the House went ahead to seek for protection. And the House called for a very strong capitation grant. And the House called for efforts by the government. The House called upon the government to put the equal amount of efforts in the service delivery, and not only on the collection of taxes. In other words, the efforts put up by the government to collect these taxes should match with the efforts to give the service. Perhaps our youth shall have proper services, could act as a reason for them to keep struggling, also to give the little they earn back as taxes. Right, Honorable Speaker, that is what I managed to note as part or as full resolutions done by the House this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. I think your fellow clerk agrees with the resolutions put across to be the real resolutions that have been prayed by people. Is it true? To agree with the resolutions mentioned?
Yes, honorable members, I concur with my fellow part of resolution.
Okay, honorable members, I think all the resolutions that we've mentioned have been written and taken note of. If there is any resolution that has been left behind, please raise up your hand and tell us. If there is a resolution that was captured wrongly, you also tell us. And if there is a resolution that they've mentioned and was not part of our agenda, you also tell us. Or if there is no hand, I think it has been successfully done, and the resolutions read have been the real resolutions that we've debated upon. Honorable members, and those who are attending with us virtually, I would wish to thank you for trusting me and I feel I've done it, though I'm not 100% sure. I've done it the way you expected and wanted. Thank you. Wish to thank the honorable members for your cooperation and your submissions that you've made. They won't go in vain. We all know the power of speech. People who spoke are the one who got deliberated, but then, But then, we should also think about the other part of action. That is implementation. So if they bring these issues or our prayers, if they bring anything to do in answering these prayers, please take part in experiences that we face in Western Uganda. Let me thank our clerks to Parliament. They've done as well, and they've taken good note of our submissions. And thank the organizers of this debate. We thank you for you've given us a safe space as young people. It's not that that there are no other people who think about us, but they think about us in a different way. For us, for you, you thought about us in this way. We appreciate it, and we don't take it for granted. We shall continue to work together for the betterment of our country now that we're the Uganda of tomorrow. We have student leaders. Please raise up your hand and wave for the people. If you're a student leader, especially the great president of Bishop Stewart University, who have given us a hospitable environment within his premises. You've done us well, you've fed us, you've given us security, that is protection. We are covered. Members attending with us virtually, we are well here. We expect you to be part of us in the next parliament or the next session of next year. If you happen to attend, you really wish to remain even at Bishop Stewart. That is, if it happens to take place at Bishop Stewart University again, you can wave to people for recognition. Yes, that is. We had the good president of Mass. I think he has just moved out. Yes, we have the gender minister of Mbarara University of Science and Technology. You can also wait for people. The one that has been advocating for young people, for the females in agriculture. We have, yes, and different dignitaries. Thanks for coming. We appreciate your presence and wish to work with you even in the implementation stage. I remain Agawa Charite. I call this house to an end. Sing the national anthem as we close.